This Zoom and Facebook stuff is not working the way they intended it to work,
Sure.
Thomas. And we'll see if it works now. So, yeah, I agree. It's like, I'm just the whole weed thing. And it's, I tell the parents, like, you have two choices. You can try to control them and, be on their butt every 5 seconds about smoking weed. Or you can step back and say, okay, they're going to do what they're going to do anyway. Why not be on the side and say, I'm here, I'm here to support you. I'm not condoning it, but I don't want to make this something that's going to affect our relationship to the point where we're always at each other's throats. Because they're smoking weed, they're going to smoke it because they enjoy it. They're suppressing an emotion that needs to come out. They're a teenager. They just want to experiment and have fun. Who knows what the reason is? But as a parent, you only have two choices here. In controlling them, how do you think that's going to work out for you?
Mm-hmm.
So what are you left with? Honey, I love you. And I like to remind parents that what is unconditional love? It's loving our children no matter what they do.
Right.
Whether they're, going out, hanging around with the wrong kids, drinking, doing drugs, that's unconditional love. And I try to, we got to remind parents that we have to parent the child that's in front of us, not the one that we dreamed about having. And I love that statement because I did a post. It was like, we fantasize so much about, when this kid's born, he's going to do, he or she's going to do X, Y, and Z. I'm going to be this amazing parent. We're going to do all these cool things together. All these expectations, like you talked about earlier. And then all of a sudden it's like, shit, what happened?
That brings up like kind of a sensitive subject. So I remember I got my ex-wife pregnant when she was 20 years old. We were both 20 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember when she told her mom, and her mom called her and told her to give me the phone. And for probably about an hour and a half,
mm-hmm.
I mean, she was screaming at me, that her daughter was going to go to college and was going to do all this stuff. And I ruined her life. And, I better get my act to just read me the riot act because that wasn't what her daughter was going to do. And it really strained my relationship. I ended up being married for 14 years, but in the very beginning of my ex-wife and I's relationship, it put a really good strain on things because of how dissatisfied she was. Like, this is, all my fault for, ruining her vision for her daughter.
Yeah. And that's what it is, as parents. We all have these expectations. That's what you do when you conceive a child, that you bring them into this world. It's like, they're going to do X, Y, Z. They're going to go to this college. They're going to grow up. They're going to give me, they're going to get married, have kids, and, give me grandchildren. And we have their whole lives planned out for them.
Mm-hmm.
And they have no idea, that's their life. That's not our life, and I always say, it's like, we are the passengers. They're in control.
Mm-hmm.
We're just there to keep the car on the road, keep it from going off the road, help them learn life lessons, love them unconditionally and coach them along on their journey. We're not there to grab the wheel. And when we try to grab the wheel, that's when we get that rebellion, because that's control. And we shouldn't need to control them. But there were a lot of parents out there that think that I brought this kid into the world, I'll take them out. I'm in charge. And it's like, well, how is that working out for you? Like this mom that I was talking to, she went on that rant. It's like, I'm the boss, I'm in charge, I'm older, but that doesn't matter. They're their own person, they're their own soul. They have their own identity in this planet, on this planet. It's like, you can say all you want, but the more we And then like the more we try to control them, the more they control us. And how do they control us? How do they control us?
Yeah, a lot of parents don't see how our kids. I mean, even if that's like I just had this conversation the other night with a parent who was having extremely troubles with his kids, and really they know that, say, we'll use the instance of like not cleaning their room. If you tell them that your expectation is that they need to keep their room clean, they know that when they don't clean their room and you're screaming at them for not cleaning their room, that's how they're controlling you, right? They know
leverage.
They're going to flip the shit out for not cleaning, even though, ultimately it will lead to them getting in more trouble, right? They like, maybe, okay, now since you didn't do that, you're grounded, right? But like, we enforce our will and try to control even more. Okay, now I'm going to control your phone access. Now I'm going to control your internet. You're grounded to the house. It will keep getting worse. But the child the whole time is like, they already know that they can, at a moment's notice, they know how to get you to get beat red and that vein popping out of your neck.
Yeah, and they use it so well. And then, but it's funny, when you let a parent go on their rant and they finish their rant, it usually ends with, I've taken everything away. I don't know what to do anymore. So that goes to show you there's so many friggin' studies out there that punishment and discipline is just a bunch of bullshit. Yep. It makes the kids angrier because that's just more control. We need to find a space where, like we talked yesterday, it's about, it's relationships. That's all it is. And it's not, I'm the adult, I know more. Sometimes our kids do shit to us trying to teach us a lesson.
Right. Yeah. And you will, just as life does, unless you learn that lesson, you will keep repeating the test over and over and over again until you actually get it.
Oh, wow. I'm having all kinds of challenges today with the technology. Give me 1 second. Wow. This is like really, nothing's working for me. Give me 1 sec.
Yeah, on my side, it still says we're live on Facebook.
Oh, good.
Yeah,
good, live.
How true is that? I don't know.
That's all right. See, I'm trying to record here for my. Actually, it doesn't matter because I can get it off of Facebook too. Wow, this is too funny.
Not bad for the first time using this. We'll get it worked out.
Yeah, I thought it was going to be a lot easier, but okay, I got good working. Yeah. Maybe not. That's all right. So it's recording on Facebook?
I mean, that's what it says. I don't know. I haven't checked my phone here. We'll have to see.
Everybody bear with us for 1 sec. I got to get this. Because I don't get it, I'm going to be like really, aggravated with myself here. And
yeah. I mean, it's hard to tell whether it's it's live now. Yeah, I think we're live.
Okay, good.
It says we're live. Yeah. And now it was live. I don't know if it just turned off or updated. Is or was live. Okay, now it says it's live now. Okay, here we go. For the last 9 minutes now, I see us live, so we're good.
All right. So we're good. Okay.
I got a question for you around this whole thing to see kind of what you feel about it. So a lot of parents may be saying that this is I was raised and when I did something wrong, I got I got whooped or I got yelled at and I got punished, and I knew that or parents believe that it made them act better. So they believe that this is, doing those exact same things, oh, I'm just yelling at my kid. I got the belt when I was a kid, you know, and I shaped up when I got the belt, and I'm not even using a belt, right? So they think that, you know, we're a step better because we're not beating our children anymore, like maybe we were back in our days. But you know, how do you approach a parent and say, hey, you know, the key is to really like talk with them, and it's quite a different approach from what is standard in this society.
So I think parents need to do some kind of a self-reflection and look at, you know, how they were raised, how they were parented, and ask themselves the question: is that, am I bringing my past into my present, and is this present affecting the way I'm raising my child? Because parents catch themselves so much saying, wow, did I just I sounded like my father?
Mm-hmm.
And it's freaky, but that's what happens. You know, that's what happens when we don't have there's no school for parents, you know, and that's the shame of it. There's nobody teaching parents how to be parents. And everybody thinks that, oh, it's just instinct. And that is such bullshit. It's not. Yeah. And everybody is so fearful to admit that they, you know, made a mistake, made a misstep. And, you know, that's what, you know, who loses in the end? The child. Right. Children lose in the end.
Yeah. And then potentially like their children, you know,
well,
you know,
yeah, exactly. That's it, you know, it goes on and on. You know, it goes on for, you know, generations, and then people want to know why, you know, why we do this, and this. And it's like, well, you know, our grandparents did it. But, you know, we can't really blame ourselves. We can go back in history and blame, you know, our parents and their parents. But, you know, I always preach that, you know, breaking the cycle, you know, stopping and saying, you know, this maybe worked for, you know, my parents, but we're all different human beings. You know, we're all unique, and it's what's going to work for them. It's not going to work for us, especially this day and age. The times are changing constantly.
Right. Yeah. And that's one of the things that I am constantly reaffirming, that I truly believe that everybody in this world, every single person in this world is doing the best they can with what they know and their level of consciousness at the time. Right. Because if you knew better, you would be doing better. Right. I mean, if you knew better, you would be doing better. Right. If I knew better than I did, you know, even in times, and I know that I'm doing the best that I can in every moment. And so that is able to, you know, kind of allow me to be at peace with the things that happened in my past with my children, right? The times that I've blown up and flew off the handle at my kids. But I've been able to make peace with that because that I knew that I was doing the best that I can with what I knew at the time. I love my kids, you know, even more today than I did then. But I know that with all the tools that I had of being a parent and all the unresolved trauma that I had as from being in a childhood and, you know, all that stuff, that I was still doing the best that I can. But I know better now, and so I'm doing better now.
And that's it. And I think that's a great message to the parents out there. It's like, we're always doing the best we can. You know, I don't know what the statistics are. I always make up statistics. It's like 99%, you know, or 95% of the parents out there have no ill intentions.
Right.
It's like we don't try to do, you know, the wrong things. It's just that, you know, we're learning on the fly. We all are learning on the fly, and we make mistakes. But I think where we fail is when we don't go out and find help and support for a specific challenge that we're going through. If we think we can fix it ourselves, especially the guys out there, I see, you know, moms out there doing 150% of the work. And I see a lot of dads out there sitting back on their ass and not giving, you know, not contributing, you know, for whatever reason that is. You know, I don't know if it's ego, but I just, you know, most of my groups are, you know, almost all women. And then, the only ones that I have men are in the prison groups, and they have to come to the group. Well, not really, but I think that, it's okay to say, I need some help. I need some support. I need someone to help me with this, because I don't have all the answers. And the people that say they have all the answers, they're only failing, themselves and their children.
Yeah.
And that's kind of, I don't know what your thoughts are on that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I really want to like honor you, first of all, because, it is difficult. I see, I've been following your content for a while now, and I see we're in some of the same groups trying to help some of the same people. And, I see that you're putting these posts up for these parents, and you'll put some really helpful, knowledgeable things up. And then right after that, there will be 20 parents that discredit everything that you said. Because they believe, the old fashioned way of, just continuing to be harder. And so I know, how brave it is for you to, to be authentic and put yourself out there and say like, hey, I'm trying to help and, give you some, helpful tips. And you're just a really brave, character for stepping up and really standing up for what you believe. So I really appreciate that about you.
Thank you so much, Thomas. I really appreciate that. And, we can't save everybody.
Yeah.
There are people that are open to change, and then there are people that aren't. And I feel so bad for, the children that are in these households where they're not being heard, seen. Nobody's looking at and trying to understand their world. It's just, he's a teenager, he's a pain in the ass, and I want to send him to boarding school. And I saw something earlier before we jumped on this, is that, a mom was struggling with her 18-year-old son that was smoking weed, lazy. He was a good kid, and, now he's the worst kid in the world, whatever. She took his truck away from him, and she's going to take the hinges off the door to his room at 18 years old. But in the end of the post, she says, by the way, my husband and his dad passed away 16 months ago.
Wow.
So I was like, she's not really seeing. I mean, she's a single mom by herself. God bless her. She's breaking her balls to, she's got 3 teenage kids trying to survive, working and trying to keep the family together. But she's not seeing, her son for what's going on in his world. If he's never smoked, weed before, he's doing it because he's got a conflict in his world. And maybe the conflict is that he's grieving the loss of his father. Mm-hmm. And I don't care if it just took effect, 6 months ago. His dad passed away 16 months ago, and he was fine for a year. There's no timeline on grief. It doesn't start and stop at a certain point. And I think
the process is valid.
I think she was missing that. So I told her, it's like, are you maybe not seeing him? And then did you even grieve? Because she's just running around constantly. Has she even stopped to say, wow, what has happened in my world? We had this family, and now it's, in a million pieces. So I'm hoping that, she read that and she got something out of that, seeing that these kids that go through these challenges in life, there's something going on, that they're acting a certain way. A small percentage of the time they just want to have fun because they're kids. But in this case, this kid, it's like, oh, my mom took my truck away. She's going to take the door off the hinges. She took my phone away and whatever. And it's like, what is he learning from that? Oh, I'm hurting inside. And the person that's supposed to love me the most is taking things away from me.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So, and that's why I think that parents, just run head first into punishment and stuff. And it just doesn't, it doesn't work, because have you even tried to get, because all these behaviors and these, kids going with the bad crowds and all that crap, it's symptoms of a underlying problem.
Mm-hmm.
So when they list out, the kids doing X, Y, and Z, it's like, okay, symptom, symptom, symptom. What's the cause? Let's find the cause. Let's find the root cause. If you're constantly trying to fix symptoms, you'll never get to the bottom of it, right?
Right.
What do you think about that?
Yeah, and as you were talking, kind of what came up for me is like this story. That I'm authentic enough to have been able to work through and feel comfortable sharing that. When I was a child, so around 15 years old, I was punching holes in the wall. My dad was constantly in my door. I was throwing things, slamming things. I ended up as my dad got home from work one day, I took a sledgehammer to our door that goes from the garage into the house. And it was a fire door, by code, it has to be so thick and solid. And my dad had just had it installed. It was like $1,200 or $1,500. My dad came home and was like, what the fuck just happened? Called the cops. They arrested me. I spent the night in jail for malicious mischief. So what nobody knew at the time was that I had been sexually molested by a family member. And, and that wasn't something that, I felt comfortable sharing at the time. And so, I was just really at war with myself, but, I just, my grades were terrible. I was chewing tobacco, I was doing all the wrong things, constantly fighting and arguing with my brother and with my family. And I was really at war with my environment, and, and had no other release. So, as you were talking, not that, that specific thing is what's happening to these kids, but for whatever reason, they don't feel comfortable with really being able to talk about what is going on for them and what they are experiencing, whether it be, they're getting bullied at school, or maybe, I know something that kind of is happening a lot now is with, teens are finding it, kind of difficult to fit in, and we're on social media all the time. And so it's not like back in the day when you and I were in school, where if we were having a beef or an argument with somebody at school, it stayed at school, right? Mm-hmm. And because there was no other real contact outside of there unless they lived on your block, right? And
it didn't follow you home. It didn't follow you home.
Right, yep. It didn't follow you home. And so now these conflicts that these kids are having are 24/7. They're, being bullied online. They're, it's just a whole nother level that I think a lot of parents aren't even akin to, this level of, what technology kind of, having this total access when our kids are, at war with their environment, how much more amplified it is because of that.
Yes, I agree. And
I think back to, what I could have needed in that moment, what would have changed the course of my life at, 16, 15, while all this stuff was happening. And, at the time, I didn't feel like I could tell anybody, because my parents were like authoritarians, like if I said anything, I was just going to get in trouble. And so, having an environment where I felt comfortable, being able to talk and have that kind of relationship. My dad worked long hours, and, as soon as he got home, it was whatever he needed to do for the rest of the day, and he was like really he was present, but absent, where we didn't really have like a kind of relationship where we just shared things openly. And so really now, they say that, be the change that you wish to see in the world, be the change that you wish to see in your children, right? If you want your children to open up to you, then be more open with them. You want them to be more authentic, you share with your children times that you've made mistakes, you know, and to say, hey, look, I thought this yesterday and I made a mistake, and, you know, I thought maybe you did this. And once they see that it's okay to, you know, own up to our downfalls, then they feel safe to be able to do the same. Right. But when a lot of times as parents, we hide our mistakes and failures, or cover them up, or we don't talk about them. And then we shame our children for those mistakes. Right.
Yep.
We model the incorrect behavior. You know, we'll sit there on our cell phones, you know, as soon as we get home from work, but then, you know, we're telling them not to be on their phone all night, but here we are on our phones all night. Right. So that
hypocrites.
Right, exactly. And that's like the number one thing that I'm seeing is just parents not modeling the behavior that they want their kids to have.
Mm-hmm. Well, thank you so much for sharing that. I'm so sorry to hear about that, but thank you for sharing that with us.
Yeah, no, and I believe it was for a reason. You know, everything that has happened has, you know, led us to be where we are. And now, instead of it being something, and that's where a lot of parents can use, you know, any kind of thing that they have been through in their life to empower other people. And that is like the most, you know, the most gratification and joy that we can get from our life is helping somebody else, you know, through the things that we have been through. So that's really, you know, why I do what I do as well.
And I love, Thomas, what you said about how parents suppress their feelings a lot, you know, not wanting the kids to know that, you know, we're not perfect, or not wanting them to feel sad for us. But it works, you know, it doesn't help them. It works the opposite, because they're afraid to actually show any kind of emotions, or they're reluctant to come and see us because they see us as this demigod that, look at him, look at her. They never have a problem. They never cry. They never yell. They never scream.
Mm-hmm.
How can I say, you know, this, my boyfriend broke up with me in school, whatever the case is. How can I tell something stupid like that to my parents and tell them I feel bad? So they suppress. And then all those suppressed feelings, they're going to manifest. And what do they manifest? They manifest into unexpected behavior, because they have to come out. And they, you know, parents say, oh, well, my daughter's cutting herself. Well, that's a cutting is a sign of releasing the emotions, release them, getting them out. You know, doing drugs. That's another release, because they're escaping into their own world. And it's a vicious cycle. And I think that as parents, I agree 1,000% that, you know, like you said, it's like we have to be open with them. We have to be authentic. We have to have that open line of communication. That's a connected parent, not one that buries their shit and then just jumps on their phone. It's like, and you said the model and the behavior. Yes, we want to behave like, and we want to see our children, you know, what are they modeling? They're watching us, everything we do.
Right.
And that's what they're going to carry on into their, you know, teen years and into adulthood.
Yeah. I want to say that, like, the most important part of this entire talk that we've had is really the understanding that it's never too late.
Nope.
It's never too late to turn the ship around, to right the ship, right? Mm-hmm. And these kinds of things don't happen overnight, right? We're not going to all of a sudden, you know, you may have a moment, like in coaching, we call them aha moments, where, you know, a light switch flips. I mean, I've seen it in my clients where they're like, oh my gosh, I didn't realize, like, the whole demeanor changes. Those happen, but change in relationships take time, and it's never too late to start that process. And so I really encourage that if any parent is you know, considering, like, I have, you know, I don't know what else to do, you know, reach out for help, because it's never too late.
I agree 1,000,000% on that one. It's never too late. There's always hope. And when you say you've tried everything, you're lying to yourself, because you're full of shit. You haven't tried everything. Because when you've said that, you gave up. You gave up. And, when we were going through, some challenges with my son and his health, my wife and I were always, okay, what's next? What's next? What's next? 10 years, we just, we kept on, we were resourceful as hell, kept on trying something, never gave up. Because when you give up, can you live with the consequences of not trying that next thing, that next weird thing? It's like, oh, I can't, that's too weird. It's too expensive. It's too much. But it's easier to go and, talk about sending them off to boarding school or get him to a psychiatrist where, oh my God, he's got ADHD, ODD, COPD, whatever the hell the acronyms are. It's so much better if somebody diagnosed my child with some kind of mental health issue, give them some drugs, and then I can sit back and say, it wasn't me.
Yeah.
And they could be fixed like that.
Mm-hmm.
And like you said earlier, it takes time. It takes time to get reconnected with a disconnected child. They don't become disconnected overnight. And you hear parents say, well, the child, he was a great boy at 7 or 8. And then all of a sudden he's 12 or 13 and he's out of his mind. It's like, yeah, he's been building up that shit for 5 years. That's why he's out of his mind. And you think you're going to fix him in a half hour? One visit to a therapist? You're not. You got to be realistic. Parents have to be realistic. I mean, there are a small percentage of children out there that have, mental health disabilities and they need medication to balance themselves out. And that's cool. But I think there's a rush to go get that diagnosis and then, and then get them into school, get them an IEP and then they talk about it so much, the child loses all self-confidence, self-esteem, because it's always talking about, I have ADHD. My child has ADHD. And they preface the conversation with that. I had one of my mom's prison groups a couple of months ago, and I had 4 women in this group. And I sat down, one sat right next to me, and then they all started talking. And then I have ADHD. And then we said, oh, I do too. Oh, I do. All 4 of them had ADHD. So I had 4 moms in this group, young moms. They all had ADHD. And I asked them how, from a young age. So over the years, that's all they've been told is it's almost like an excuse, for them to, get back to entitlement. It's like you give them this label and then they sit back and think that they don't have to try as hard because they have whatever it is.
We know that our thoughts create our reality, right?
Mm-hmm.
Thoughts create our reality. So if you are, immediately saying that, I have some kind of disability, then you're taking away all your power to have to do anything about it, and what if you didn't believe that? What if you didn't believe that you had ADD? What if the doctor told you that and you didn't believe it? What could be possible in your life if you just didn't believe it?
There were so many people out there that, they got a diagnosis of cancer. And, there's one from Tony Robbins. What the hell's his name? Wow. Drew a blank. Anyway, he tells a story about his mother was diagnosed with cancer and they said she's got like 6 months to live. And he goes, do not tell her that. And then he went and got her comedies and talked positive. And she lived for another 10 years.
Wow.
And this doctor said she had whatever it was, a year to live. So it is so, I was just sorry. I know I'm live. Yeah, it's okay.
Yeah, and we have so many instances of that happening, right? Like the person that gets in a car accident and loses a leg and says they'll never be able to walk again, and they're running in the Special Olympics. We got so many instances of people like you're never going to be able to do that, and then they actually end up able to do it because they don't believe that. Actually, the founder of my school IPEC, where I went for my coach certification, Bruce Schneider, had that very thing happen where they told him that he was never going to be able to walk again, and he chose to not believe that, and fought to be healthy. And he's running around and just, you would never know that anything even happened to him at this point. So it's just really like your thoughts create your reality. If you want to believe that that you have something that ails you, that prevents you from being able to truly live an extraordinary life, then that's what's going to happen. You know, who is it that said, Edison, who said, whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So, I mean,
so I think that, like, to come back around, it's like, I think that if parents have a child that's, diagnosed with whatever ADHD, whatever they are, you have two choices. You can label the child with this disease, have them live with it, talk ad nauseum about it to the teachers, to your spouse, your partner, whatever, and constantly talk about it, and just instill this label into your child's head, so that's all they feel is small. They feel like they're just this. Or you can choose not to.
right.
Okay, you can choose not to, so they won't be using it, as an excuse to slack off. Oh, my child has ADHD. He can't do all this homework. Oh, my child has this, and this. He can't, pay attention to this. And the child ends up believing this after a while. And then what are they going to be as an adults? Are they not going to be able to, how are they going to get a job? Are they even going to want to get a job? Or they think they're going to be entitled to something because they have this. I don't want any hate mail saying that, I'm talking down. It's like, there are cases out there, but it's a parent's choice whether they label the kid with it, or they say, okay, this is what we have to deal with, but let's not make this his world or her world. Yeah. I don't know if I'm right or wrong, but I've just seen this progress so much over the last, several years, that everybody's just looking for this diagnosis, and bang, then the kid is like, first, oh, the kid's lazy. Oh yeah, he has ADHD though. He's not doing school. He has ADHD. And they just use it, and it's like, it kind of drives me crazy. And I'm going to be honest, it just drives me crazy.
Yeah, I see that a lot online in some of these groups where parents are prefacing the entire conversation with, let me just start out with, my kid has ADD and this is the problem that we're experiencing.
Mm-hmm.
And I wholeheartedly agree with you. It can either be something that we help them use as a crutch, or we can help empower them to overcome and use that as the basis for, how great they are going to become, right? Regardless. I mean, it doesn't even have to be a diagnosis, right? Some kids have cleft palates, some kids have hearing issues, right? I mean, it doesn't even have to be, it could, my kid has a birthmark on his face. And so, use that as a crutch. He can't go out because of the birthmark on his face. Everybody will make fun of him, and I don't want to bring him out, and so those limitations that we set on our children, they come in many different forms.
Mm-hmm. And I agree. I think it's, we have the choice whether that's, something that we can help them overcome, and not define their life,
right?
Not define their whole existence with this thing. And, I was reading an article earlier. It's like, these kids are, they're thinking and they're going out on the web and they're Googling shit and they're diagnosing themselves. Oh, I have schizophrenia. I have, multiple personality disorder. And it's crazy. And I guess I am grateful that I grew up back in the 70s and 80s. And I'm glad that, I was fortunate to bring my children up when I did, because, this stuff was really just, getting going on the internet. And I just feel so bad for parents that, the amount of challenges they have, today, especially with the internet and all the information that their children have access to. However, there are a lot of resources out there to help them. And that's one thing we get, this point across that it's okay to go and get help and get support and have somebody have your back.
Absolutely.
Because today's it's challenging. Especially my heart goes out to all the single parents out there that are raising a child by themselves. It's just, you're working, it's hard to be present with them, work 40, 50, 60 hours a week. And it just, God bless you guys out there that are doing that. But again, there's support. So if you need something, go find something. Go find somebody to help you out with that challenge, and so you can help your kid.
Right. Yeah. If you haven't reached out yet, then you truly haven't tried everything.
Right. So that's like, when parents, I tried everything. It says, have you really tried everything? Oh yeah. I said, well, did you try X, Y, and Z? Well, no. Then you didn't try everything. Have you tried voodoo? Well, no. You haven't tried everything, right?
Right.
Because everything is everything. But we want to just throw everything in a bucket and throw our hands up and just somebody take my child, somebody just fix them and bring them back to me when they're normal again. And it's not that. We go back to the, this child that is in front of us. That's not the one we dreamed of, and we're not the parents we dreamed of being. But that's a fantasy world, and life is just not like that. But I guess if you're just finding out this now, you've had a good life. If you're finding out that life sometimes sucks.
Yeah.
When your children hit those teenage years, it's like, so you had a good 15-year run. Be grateful for that.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And one thing I kind of just really want to end on, because we talked a lot about control today, is that, we know that the more control we give up, the more control we actually have. And when you get a chance to really feel that and feel what that feels like to just give up control, it truly feels like so powerful. I never really understood that concept before until I actually started practicing it. And then it blew me away.
Yeah.
It blew me away to not be triggered by the things that, my daughter used to trigger me on that would get me like, immediately like condescending tone that she and then I would want to flex on her.
It's our own egos. It's our own egos that say, what did she say to me?
Yeah.
Oh my God. She can't talk to me. He can't talk to me like that. And it's our own crazy egos that are whacked out that create these emotions. And then we want to attack them. And it's like, who's the adult? Who's the adult? Who's the child? Who's the adult?
Yeah.
And sometimes we act as parents, sometimes we act like children. When we're arguing and fighting and yelling at them, it's like, it's like you wish you could stop for a moment and take a mirror and look at yourself. It's like, who are you? You're arguing with a 13-year-old? You think you're going to get anywhere? They have all the leverage.
That's right.
So we're wrapping up. Wow, that went by fast. The technology was so messed up. I didn't get to record us here. I'm going to see if I can go on Facebook there and get it. I did record us on my little thing for my podcast. We didn't get to any questions, but that's cool. I hope everybody got a lot out of this today. And Thomas, thank you so much. This was fantastic. We're going to do it again. Like, we could talk for like another 3 hours, but I'm hoping everybody got something out of it. And that's about it. We're out. This is Terrible Teens Talk Show, episode 7. And we'll see you guys next week. Bye.
Awesome.